Hello, welcome to this little video, CMI Assignment 704, Developing Organizational Strategy. This session here covers Assessment Criteria 2.2, the last one of the assignment, and what it asks us to do is, there we go, recommend an approach to implement and monitor the strategy to ensure its success. So following directly on from 2.1, and hopefully you have had my little video on that one, which is to um, develop an organizational strategy to achieve a business objective. So that's 2.1. Now what we need to do is look at how we implement it and monitor it. Next few minutes, I will just introduce a couple of tools, frameworks, and ideas for how you might go about doing that. So yeah, okay. So around implementation, this is one of my favorites, great little tool. Use it a lot in lots of different ways, and it really does seem to deliver a good outcome, a good result. It's AGCAR for really planning the communication of a change initiative, big, medium, or small. It doesn't necessarily need to be huge, great changes, but I don't know, getting people to use new software and that type of thing works really well for that. Or, yeah, if we need to kind of introduce a new strategy or way of working or set of behaviors into the business, this is a great little framework for how to do it. Developed by Jeff Hyatt, good evidence-based practice here. So 5 steps. The author, Jeff Hyatt, says you've got to do it in the right order. So anyway, I'll take his word for it. Awareness. So that is really good communication around what it is that we need to do, how it's going to impact people, and why. So that last bit very important. Start with why it matters, why we're doing it, and this is about communicating through different channels as well. So not just sending out an email, but actually taking the time to focus groups, sitting down, talking to people, being good bit of good democratic leadership. The second part of the model is desire. So that's focusing on the benefits and the advantages that this strategy will bring, and really working on people's hearts and minds to get them engaged, interested, at least open-minded to the strategy that we're introducing, or the change which we're hoping to embed in the organization. People are very good at seeing the downsides. Sometimes what they can need a bit of help, and that may well be a little bit linked to communication here as well. That the wins are communicated, almost over communicated. Many times people will need to hear the rationale for the strategy, but also the benefits that it brings, why we're doing it, and how it's going to be advantageous to the organization and the people within it. So yeah, hearts and minds. The next step is knowledge. So that's looking at what it is, what do people need to know in order to engage with it. So if, for example, it is a bit prosaic really, but a new software system that we need people to be engaging with, or we want them to start, I don't know, experimenting with AI in their role to boost their productivity, so that type of thing, then they may well need some training and upskilling um, on how to do that. So knowledge is yeah, it's giving people what they need to know in order to get on board with a new idea. Likely to involve some form of training. Lots of different ways of doing that these days, but yeah. So knowledge is knowledge, but then it's about ability, and this is it's always an interesting one, isn't it? What's the difference between knowledge and ability? I always like that old one about the difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing that you don't put a tomato in a fruit salad. So that I think spells out what this is all about, really. So ability is giving people, if you like, time, space, and opportunity to play with it, to build confidence in using it, to use it to solve problems, so that they can actually take what they know and put it into the real world, into their real world jobs, um, and yeah, and actually start to achieve real world things with it. So that can be supported with some sort of like on the job coaching, um, clear feedback from line managers, or if you like your change agents. So if there are people who are particularly skilled already in this new behavior that you're looking for, you might have them in the business doing observation, giving feedback, doing a bit of coaching on the behavior, that type of thing. It takes time. This again, particularly if it's a fairly complex behaviour that we're looking for. And then the last part of the model, reinforcement. So that's, is it being role modelled? A leadership walking the talk? So they're kind of like the influential people in the organisation, really living and breathing the change that they're looking for in others. Are we celebrating success? Giving people that kind of praise and affirmation when we're winning, and it's just kind of getting it really embedded, and so that ultimately after a period of time, it's not really a change anymore. It's just what people do. So yeah, reinforcement is just getting it well and truly into new habits. So yeah, ADKAR, great little framework, and again, you can talk about a little bit how you might use this. Using those 5 words as subheadings, perhaps. How would you go about communicating and integrating the strategy that you talked about in 2.1? In terms of measurement, how do you monitor it? The old traditional key performance indicators. I also think OKRs, objectives and key results, are worth a look as well. Actually, quite an interesting tool, particularly where things are a bit more change orientated. So KPIs are sort of monitor performance, tend to be quantitative, clear measures of performance. An example in my own little business, here I am. My KPI is to deliver 100 days of training a year. And that's what I asked for from the other tutors as well. So it kind of shows, if we're doing that, it shows that we're meeting expectations. Of course, if we're exceeding that, then that's excellent. But ultimately, it's the target that we work for. It's how we monitor performance. It's a simple but fairly effective metric to show that we are keeping our heads above water. OKRs, objectives and key results, are there's a little bit more to them than this. So they tend to be all both qualitative and quantitative. But what I've got here is qualitative, aspirational, and quantitative. So yeah, a good OKR will be quite kind of focused on improvement, shifting the dial, making change orientated. Is about giving people kind of a clear pathway with a purpose. So here we go. The qualitative bit would be our objective. So it might be our objective is to double the size of the business next year. So that's a fine aspiration. It's a bit of a vision, really, set out like that. And as you notice, that hasn't got metrics against it necessarily. It's just a direction of travel. It's a big, ambitious goal for 2025, as I'm filming this at the end of 2024. Now, our key results, the next bit, I suppose the tangible metrics. So this is where we go to quantitative to show that we're on track. So our key results might be, okay, and these would be things that we would check in on, say, at the end of quarter 1. Each tutor is delivering 25 per days per quarter. That's great. That would mean that we are on track to achieving our goal. But also that we identify 10 new business leaders, that should say leads, per month. There we go, bit of autocorrect there, you've got to watch out for that bad boy. So we identify 10 new business leads per month. So if each tutor is delivering their 25 days and every month we're identifying 10 new leads, then we are going to be on track to achieving our goal, which is to double the size of the business next year. So you can see it's just a little bit more to it than a KPI. It's a bit more change orientated than that, and it blends the qualitative objective, that kind of big audacious goal, with hard metrics, a bit more short term, that will be indicators as to whether we are on the right path. So if at the end of Q1 we find that we're not hitting those metrics, then we might need to look at making some changes or working differently, because that will show that we're not on track. It's not where we need to be in order to achieve our big objective. There we go. OKRs. So thank you very much for bearing with me as we go through the assignment here. These last couple of videos are a bit croaky. I've got COVID at the moment. God help me. It's been, it's definitely still with us, but I have battled through. So hopefully that is a helpful guide to 704. And yeah, thank you very much for taking the time to work through the videos.